Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. All right, Brad. Number one in here tonight. There you go, girl. Good evening, PG. How is PG's little man doing? Much love. God bless. Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Hey, girl. There you go. Everyone in chat. Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Much love and prayers. Miss Norway. Many prayers. God bless. God bless, girl. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Hey, Miss Justice. 1111. There you go. Top of the list. Top of the list. All right. Number two in here tonight. Miss Justice. You always look for her at the top. God bless her. Hey, Bridget. How you doing, sweetie? Number three. All right. Hello, PG. Glad to see you tonight, and much love for you and little man also. Hey, girl, appreciate that. God bless. And soaring three, you are number four. All right. God bless. Hey, Texas Blue 22. How you doing tonight, hon? Good to see you. Good to see you. And let's see. Who else is in here tonight? There's Minnie Pearl. Good to see you, Linda. Good to see you. Hey, Brad, I appreciate that, girl. Appreciate you helping out Summer's channel. My mods are awesome. Absolutely awesome. I don't tell them how much I appreciate them enough, but God knows I do. I really do. Oh, that's beautiful. Justice for Summer. Amen. Hey, Anna. How you doing tonight? I love your name. I love your name. I love the name Anna. I do. Good evening, PG. How's the baby doing? Doing good, girlfriend. Doing good. Absolutely. Hey, Jen, how you doing? Patty Ponytail. Good to see you, girlfriend. Hey, PT, Moz and Chat. Much love and prayers. Hey, love and prayers to you and yours as well. Cindy, how you doing tonight? Hey, Chris, good to see you in here. Hello, PG. And Koal, he says, 4:38 here in the dark. And what? UK. All right. It's raining. It's raining where he's at. All right. I just wanted to come in tonight because there's a whole lot of, you know, stuff stirring. A lot of stuff stirring out here with Van Hill and Summer's case right now, and I've been keeping up. I've been keeping up for sure. Hey, Lockdown with April. How you doing tonight? Good to see you. Um, I always keep up with everything. PG's always watching. Uh, he's a she, PG. He's a she. Who's a she? Who's a she? He's a she. Hey, Jersey, how you doing tonight? Good to see you. Chris. Oh, oh, Chris is a she. Okay, okay. All right. Um, we are having a blizzard here. Oh, do tell. Oh my goodness, girl, I hope you stay safe. Stay safe, stay warm. I'm a she, PG. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Chris. All right. Well, now I know. Now I know. God bless you. We're having a big snowstorm. Whoa. Wow. All right. I have my cigarettes. Your girlfriend? So do I. So do I. Right? When they say get ready, it's, get ready to be staying in the house. Trust me. I'm ready. I am definitely ready. Oh yeah, I am. I'm tired. I'm tired, you guys. Newborn baby. Newborn baby. We got a little one, and you're up night and day. You're up night and day. How soon we forget. Right? How soon we forget how much it takes to raise a child. Energy. A lot of energy. A lot of money too. A lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of everything. Hello and congratulations. Needed a breakaway from Lily and Jack. Checking in on Summer's case. Prayers for all of those. Oh, we appreciate that, girlfriend. God bless. Absolutely. We appreciate it. PG is tired, but I am not too tired to be here for Summer. Not too tired to be here for her. I'm definitely got to be here for this little girl. We all do. We all do. Hey, PG's little girl. Good to see you in here. Good to see you in here. But Van Hill Road. I want to talk about Van Hill Road. And I'm going to get right to it tonight, you guys. I appreciate everybody asking about little man and how he's doing and everything, and he's doing good. And I appreciate each and every one of you caring for him, and trust me, he'll know in the future. He'll know in the future that he had a lot of people out here praying for him and concerned about, his well-being and so forth and so on, because I'm definitely going to tell him. Trust and believe me. And I put a lot of your guys' names in this baby book so far. I'm not finished. I'm still working to get everybody's names in this baby book, so that one day in the future he'll be able to look back and see each and every last one of you that cared about him. And also Facebook as well. Little do you guys know, when you write to PG and you ask about little man, or let me know that you're praying for us and stuff like that. I actually screenshot, your comment so that I can take it and print it out and add it to his little baby book, letting him know in the future, how much people cared. I want him to know. I want him to always know that there's good left in this world, even when we think there's not. I want him to be able to look at that and understand, yeah, there is, because sometimes you can think there's not any good left in this world, right? And it can kind of, like a rainy day, it can kind of make you, feel isolated. It can make you feel real isolated when you look out there, and I want him to know that there's, don't judge everybody by somebody, because there's a lot of good people out there left in this world. You just have to search. You just have to find them, right? We found each other here. this is where we found one another, you know, and you'll find a lot of good people, you know, just outside your door. If you look for it, you'll find it. I remember I remember back last summer, um, I was outside. I was out front of my house, and there's a couple people walking down the road, and I got to talking with them, and next thing I know, they's inviting us over, to the house for a pool party, and really good people, you know, and turned out to be good friends, very good people, good friends. You'd be surprised where you meet people. David, there you go. There you go. I remember one time I had a really bad cough, and Jacob gave me a cough drop, and it helped really well. There you go. I'm going to tell you something. I took different cough drops, and I'm going to be honest with you. Somebody told me to try a certain one, and I did. And I'm going to tell you, they work the best. They work the best, man. Though you can't beat those honey cough drops, right? You can't beat the honey ones. They do the trick. That's for sure. But anyway, let's get back to Van Hill Road. Oh wow! All right. Hey, girl, you after PG's heart tonight. I appreciate that. Member for 19 months. Sending love, PG, to you and the Bubby. Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel too, girlfriend. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're helping PG keep StreamYard going. I appreciate that. Oh, coupon mama. God bless you, sweetheart. God bless you. Absolutely. And, but I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame you. I came out here, when I first came out here to YouTube, I felt like I had to, I felt like I had to always be, always be on guard and everything because people was being very mean. And I'm going to I'll tell you guys a secret before I get started tonight. I'll tell you a secret about YouTube. When you come out here to YouTube, it's, they want you. They want you. Like, like when I first came out here and, I had all these people coming at me and carrying on. And I'm going to tell you, they don't like to see a newcomer. They don't like to see a new person opening up a channel because they feel like, that's going to take away from them. And they feel, like if they can get everybody to dislike that somebody, then, all of those somebodies are going to stay at their channel. And, and they do that, and it's wrong. It's wrong. People, newcomers out here that's willing to open a channel and be there for these kids and everything, they should be welcomed. They should be welcomed to be out here because every voice is needed. And every voice brings new people. Like every, voice brings more people to YouTube. Like what I'm trying to say is every day there's new people opening up YouTube and finding true crime. And they might find, they might find the newcomers channel, or the newcomer might have, a lot of people they know that's going to be watching them because, they just opened a channel and they got a lot of family, neighbors, stuff like that that's going to be watching. And then more people just add to it. And what happens is, this child gets in the eyes and the ears, the mind, body, and soul of a lot of new people that originally would not have been out here had that newcomer not showed up with them. And and disliking a person that's just coming to YouTube and starting a channel and everything, is just unrighteous. It's unrighteous to to be that way to them, just because you think that they might start getting a few of your people. Hey, your people, your people, it's okay for your people to go to all channels if that's what they want to do, because they'll always be back at your channel too. They'll always be at your channel, and it's okay to be at other ones. I don't talk about the same stuff that that other YouTubers talk about. They talk about different things than what PG's talking about. And you have to go to all different, you have to go to all different channels to hear, to hear all the different things. And, even trust and believe me, because, I'm a YouTuber and I go to other channels as well. I go to other channels as well because, I like to stay updated on everything. They might have heard something I ain't heard yet. I might have heard something they ain't heard yet. And I can, and I can help. I could bring it out in their chat. So that, and update them so they could update all the people. And, and that's how it works. We're supposed to be helping one another. Once you've been here for a while, it took me like 4.5 years, right? Out here to really fit in. And it takes a while. It takes a while to fit in. Some people don't ever fit in. And I understand that for certain reasons. But if you're a good person, this community at some point will accept you. But I wish we could accept people right at the beginning, and be grateful that new eyes and ears and information and stuff, is coming out here, for all of these missing children and everything, because we also end up losing a lot of people, because we lost Doug and we lost, Molly Golightly, and, we lose people. And then sometimes, we have people that get put in the hospitals and stuff, right? Things happen. Like I had the baby and everything, and I wasn't able to be here as much and so forth. And you need other people that will be here, right? It's important that people are here. So you really need to, be grateful for everybody wanting to come up here and do this, because this ain't something that's easy to do. Being up here on this panel, bringing all this information out here to everybody, this is not an easy thing to do. Everybody can't do it. Everyone cannot do what Justin, what myself, what Brooks, it's not easy. And a lot of people, you know, it might look easy, but if you give it a try, oh, you'll know how damn hard it is. It's hard. It's hard, and it's time consuming. It's a lot, you guys. It's a lot, and it's not for everyone. You know, I mean, you got to be a certain kind of person to be able to do this every day, day in and day out. Um, it takes a lot. Takes a lot out of you. Takes a whole lot out of you, and it's not easy for sure. So you know, I really appreciate all of those people who you know who are blessed enough, you know, that God has give what it takes to do this. I am grateful. I'm grateful for all of them that are able to do this, to do what we do. I am grateful. But anyway, Ben Van Hill Road. I wanted to show you guys something. I wanted to show you something right now, right here. I wanted to show you this map. This is 110 Ben Hill Road. As you can see, Ben Hill Road goes out to Beach Creek. Beach Creek runs down. If you look at the top, if you're staring at the screen, look at the top left-hand corner, and you'll see how Ben Hill Road runs right into Van Hill, where the red arrows are. That's where it starts to run into Van Hill, over into Van Hill Road down here. Now, and where all of this stuff took place was not, you know, it's just right down the road from Don Wells, where all of this was, you know, all this stuff was going down. And this right here, this street right here, Van Hill is just a little stretch. It's like a little stretch of road. It's not much. It's not much because this Bailey Road is on the other side of it, and then it's Van Hill. Then it turns back into this Bailey Road. So Van Hill's just this tiny stretch down through there. I'm bringing you up, Australia. How you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing good, girl.
I just thought I'd come and say hi. I haven't spoken to you for a while now.
And
How's the bubby?
the bubby's good. The bubby's good. Um, I seen where you wasn't feeling well for a while, and so
I've
many
been
times.
been really sick for the last few weeks,
Yeah,
and
he was worried about.
today today I just found out Dad's been in hospital again. He fainted, collapsed. My stepmother couldn't pick him up, so he was sent to hospital. Something to do with I can't even pronounce the word. It's got something to do with his breathing, circulation, the heart, COPD.
Right.
He's obviously gotten up too quickly and heart arrhythmia and fainted.
And I'm sorry to hear that, girl. I'm sorry to hear it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that everybody here be praying for you and your dad.
And the
Uh,
little one's having a hard time, little Maddie.
uh, I can imagine. I can imagine. You know, it's a lot. You know, when people you love ain't doing good, it's a lot of stress on you. Whether you know it's a parent that ain't doing well, it's stress on the kids. If the kid ain't doing well, it's stress on the parents. Um, but that's the way it's supposed to be, you know,
Yeah,
because they
that's what I'm here for. Being
Well,
her mum.
you know, your love for them makes them want to get well and get stronger for you. And their love for you makes you want to get stronger, furial, get stronger and be there for them, you know. And you, like Jesus said, love is the greatest of all, because, you know, love has the power to make people want to go, want to continue to fight and get better, you know,
Yep.
when they don't. It's basically like a healer. It's, you know,
It's one
love.
thing I can't stand is people that are on the phone that make my children feel inadequate, feel like they're not smart, that they can't cope with this and they can't cope with that. She's just had a phone call with someone from the government, from Centrelink, and
Hmm.
they've made her feel really, really dumb.
Hey, that's
Poor,
okay.
poor little baby.
You know, God don't make mistakes. Everybody's perfect in their own way. And you know, it's okay because
She's beautiful.
she is beautiful. And you know, it she's not supposed to. It's okay because people do not determine who you truly are. God does. And
Yep,
God made Maddie perfect. He made her perfect. And you know, and if people can't see how perfect she is, that's their problem, not yours or hers or anyone else's. That's their problem. And
that's right.
they'll be answering to God for that. You know? So if I was her, I would just smile, I would laugh, and I would move on with myself and just consider the source. You know, consider the
Yeah,
source and move on.
they're calling back in an hour. I'm going to take the phone call and I'm going to put them in line.
I would tell them, you know,
I'm going to say, don't speak to my daughter that way, because you will not get any answers out of her by attacking.
I would
You need
tell,
to be clear, calm, and collected when speaking with her.
I would tell them that, you know, why are you trying to get, you know, where there's little given, there's little required. And if you feel God gave her so little, then why are you requiring so much? Right?
Yeah.
Tell them that. See what the hell they had to say.
So what's going on with this Van Hill Road again?
Oh, let me tell you something. I guess Frank came out and Frank decided to um talk to
Frank Hill.
yeah, he decided to talk to the woo woo guy. Um
And you know that TBI, FBI, and Hawkins County, whoever checked that land, are not going to come back and tell
well,
anyone what they found.
here's the thing. You know, I'm tired of the games. I'm tired of these people acting like, you know,
Me
and
too.
Ryan, you know, like Ryan finds truth. Let me tell you something about Ryan finds truth. Ryan finds truth's dad worked with Andy Bernard's dad. They work
Yeah.
together. And Andy and Ryan, they know each other because places like that have what they call company parties and get-togethers, and these people meet up and the kids get to know the kids, and you know, it's just a thing. It's what they, you know, places like that do. We all know about it. And you know, so Ryan is no stranger to these people. I mean, they down in this area, everybody
It
knows
mustn't. It
everybody.
mustn't be a very big place, Tennessee.
Uh,
From
you
what I
know,
gather, is it like a everybody seems to know each other?
I find that that it's a small world. The whole world is a very small world, and a lot smaller than we think. And and Tennessee is super small. The thing is he talked to Ryan because he's related to Andy Bernard and he's related to Fred Hill, and Ryan already knows and been hanging around with Andy, right? And
Yeah.
they've been buddies for a while. And you know, anyway, um, I don't want to really talk about Ryan. I think we all know about Ryan and all of his affiliation out here and why he's out here and so forth and so on. But anyway, this guy decides to he's going to talk to Ryan, and I'm glad he did. I am so glad he did because it's just another piece of the puzzle, and it's a whole lot more BS that actually factors in to Summer's case.
That's what I was
And
thinking too.
absolutely. And this particular guy, here's a
about
picture.
why there's so many cars
That's a
required,
picture right here. Hold
why there's so
on.
many cars.
I'm trying to shut him up. But here he is. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you could tell he's a shifty-eyed uh person right there, Uh, don't ever let his looks is not deceiving me at all. And he says he wanted to come out and talk about it. Well, I'm going to tell you something about this guy and his talking. It's a bunch of BS. Because see I'm going to tell you what they don't do. I'll tell you what they don't do. They don't tear the inside of your house up. They don't go through your house like a Tasmanian devil, right? Oh, I lost her. They don't go through your house like a Tasmanian devil, just to looking for a red truck. They're not going to do that. I mean, you put the red truck in your fucking living room? I don't think so. They wasn't, going through that house and all through every inch of this guy's interior for a red truck, right? Oh, it's okay. Australia, I understand. But they're looking for something more. There's something more they was looking for than that red truck. So, when he's talking about, oh, they came up here to, to talk about the red truck. Well, if they was, like I said, if they was really after the red truck, they would have checked the B&B. They would have, looked into if this man's, owned it. Okay, he did. Then they would see if he sold it. And all that information's right there. It tells when it's just like a home. It tells you when it's bought, when it's sold, if it was licensed every single year, if there was any time that it wasn't licensed. It tells you everything, right? It tells you everything. And about the vehicle. And it tells you, pretty much who has it right now. That's all you have to do. If you're looking for a truck or a vehicle, you can just chase it. Just chase it down through the B&B, go to the person who owns it last and say, hey, I need to look through this truck, right? They're not going to go to his house to look through the damn truck. They're going to go to the last owner and look through the truck. So they didn't go to that house over a red truck, right? They're talking about digging up the property, thinking the red truck's buried. How could a red truck be buried on the property if the man turned it over to someone else, right? And they don't need the VIN number. They don't need the VIN numbers on Cindy. No, they don't. They do not need a VIN number. Let me tell you something. I have had encounters. With vehicles. I come from the hood, okay? And I've had encounters with vehicles. Personally myself. And I'm going to tell you, they knew every vehicle that I ever owned, like every vehicle that ever went in and out of my name. And they didn't have the VIN numbers to a damn one of them. All they had was my name, right? They had my name. And because of one incident, they went back and went through every, they told me the vehicles I owned. And they don't have VIN numbers. So I know all they need is your name. All they needed was, Paul Hill's name, Frank Hill's name, and they just check what vehicles Paul Hill has had, right, at that address. And it'll pop it right up. And it'll tell them every vehicle this man has ever owned, including that red truck, right? That particular Tacoma truck that he supposedly owned. And then it'll also tell him when he, if he sold it, if he no longer owns it. And then it'll tell, whose hand it switched into. They could tell who he sold it to. That's why you have to go, when you sell a car, that's why you have to go and, and have it notarized. It's got to be notarized. When you go to turn it over to someone, there has to be a notary there that turns it over. And, then the person takes it and they get their new thing, to it. So anyway, the point being is, and when you get your new title, right on your new title, right on your new title, it will have the previous owner. It'll have not just you, but the previous owner on it. So, who owned it before you, who you got it from. And then when you sell it, your name will go into the previous owner and the new person will go where you're at, and so on and so forth. That's how, it changes hands. So if they want to know where that truck went, all they got to do is follow the paper trail. And it'll tell them, it'll tell them right who and where the truck is, even the damn address to where it's at. So, they didn't go there for a red truck. They ain't going to go in your house to find a red truck. I mean, they went, they had a judge. They got a warrant. These people got a warrant to go up in there and access that whole damn property. And when they do that, they're not looking for some red truck that they know you don't even have anymore. So what was they looking for? I don't know. I may have to go play on the computer at the junkyard. Yeah, right. Exactly. But that's how it works. Yeah, that's Fred's uncle. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you, ain't it? I mean, Fred sure didn't get the looks in this family, did he? Andy and I'm wondering how this guy looks like this, and Andy and Fred look like they do. That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, how in the hell does this guy, look like this, and they look like them? I'm like, whoa, something went wrong there, right? He's not Fred's uncle. This is Fred. The other guy is Fred's uncle. This is Fred's cousin. This is Frank. This is Frank Hill, the one that talked to Ryan. This is Frank. And Frank's a pretty good looking man, right? He's a pretty good looking guy. I mean, I don't know why Ziggy didn't find him, right? That's what I'm wondering, is why Ziggy. Damn. I mean, whoa. I'd have left Fred standing in the middle of Ben Hill Road, right? I mean, all he would have caught was, only thing Fred Hill would have caught from me is the smoke out of my tailpipe, trying to get the hell out of there, right? And this boy right here, I'm going to tell you, this guy might have caught a little more than the smoke from the tailpipe. He ain't bad looking at all, but he's talking BS, right? He's blowing smoke, and good thing we're wearing our breeches. Good thing we got our breeches on, because he's trying to blow smoke up somebody's backside, and it ain't going to be up ours. Not today. But anyway, I'm sure Frank is married. I'm sure one of them country girls caught herself this fella right here. Absolutely. I mean, shoot. This old boy right here, this old boy right here, he's worth 5 minutes. He's worth 5 minutes of your time. I'm not going to lie. He's probably worth 5 minutes. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about him, I don't know about him longer than that, but he's worth the 5 minutes. I don't know who cut his hair. But he's still good looking. He's still good looking for, to come from the Hill family. He's still good looking. Yeah, he's a looker. But listen to what he said.
Inquired about why there's so many cars at Dad's, so I took and went out there. And
oh, hell no. He could eat crackers in my, well, not, I'm about to get myself in trouble. I'm about to get myself in some trouble here. Actually, no, he can't eat crackers in my bed right now because I'm married, right? I'm married. But if I wasn't married, oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. He could eat crackers in my bed, right? I hope my husband ain't watching this. I really do. I won't be in a lot of trouble tonight.
Pulled up and they told me the property was closed and told me to leave the property.
They told you to leave?
Yes. It was closed to leave.
Okay.
So I did.
Did they know who you were? You and his son?
I announced myself.
Okay.
Like I told them, and they had no concern. Second time I went back, it was just a cold shoulder. So I went back home. I eat. About 20 minutes later, I decided to go back, and I just pulled even further up into the property until I was like kind of pushing people out of the way with the side by side. And then I didn't leave when they told me to. And finally, TBI agent came back and started speaking to me. And I told him who I was, and he told me, well, his version of what was going on.
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was kind of a joke. I mean, a waste of time.
You hear him? I thought the whole thing was a joke. He said it right the first time, right? He said it right the first time. I thought it was a joke, you know. Then he tried to wiggle. Because it's a missing little girl, and but he's right the first time. I thought it was a joke, because they don't care about this missing little girl, right? These people down there do not value children. They do not value children. A lot of people, in the previous generations coming down the pike, do not value children, right? They don't only, hate on the parents, they hate on the kids, right? They say bad stuff about the parent. They go as far as to attack the children as well as the parents. I mean, once upon a time, if somebody had a problem with you, they had a problem with you. They didn't have a problem, with your spouse or your children or any of the rest of your family. They had a problem with you. Well, not anymore. If they got a problem with you, then they got a problem. They got a problem with everybody related to you, everybody, friends with you. I mean, they got no respect for no one. People today, in these new generations, a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying a lot of them, are just disrespectful as hell, and just as cruel to the children as they are to, sometimes more so to the children than they are to, to the parents and so forth and so on. That's why, you got to be careful who you allow your children to socialize with, right? Who you allow to come around your home, because these kids don't have no respect for other kids. What I'm saying is, one of your children can bring a child or some kids around your home that will hurt your younger kids. They'll hurt your younger kids because they don't have no respect for children. They're like F those little mother, freakers, right? That's how, that's how they think, that's how they are. And that's why, you better know who your kids are bringing on your, property, because they got to be good kids. They got to, you got to know that they're really good kids, and they're not the type that are going to, to hurt the other children, around your home and so forth and so on. And you got to make sure that, they're not going to be a bad influence on the child they're hanging with as well, right? You got to make sure that you got to raise your kids not only to watch out, for themselves, but you got to raise your kids today to watch out, for their siblings as well. What I'm saying is, you bring a friend to this house, you are responsible for that friend. And if that friend comes and that friend, you know, disrespects you or disrespects your siblings, you know, that's on you. That is on you. No excuses. No excuses. You got to know what you're hanging with. You got to know who you're pulling into the house, and you got to know that they're safe, not just for yourself, but for your siblings as well. You know, and I don't think that's too much to bear for your kids if they think they're old enough to bring friends home and friends around, then I feel they're old enough to be responsible for those friends. You are responsible for who you bring around the house. You will be the one. If anything happens, you will be the one answering for what took place. Not your friend, you. Because you're the one that drug them in. You got to put some responsibility on your children. You got to put some responsibility on them, because if you don't, then your children ain't going to take self-blame. They're not going to be responsible if you don't put some responsibility back on them. Anyhow, this guy right here is a liar. He is a liar. He is, not telling the truth. He says he went home when he first came, because Ryan asked him, said, "Did you tell him who you was?" And he said he did tell him. But then, the first time he came, he said he did tell him, but they sent him away. But then he said in 20 minutes, he went home, he had some food and stuff. Then he came back in about 20 minutes. And this time he was refusing to leave. And he said that's when he told him who he was. So did he? Yes, responsibility and accountability. Absolutely, Chris. You have to wonder why he, because right there was a lie. Right there was a lie, because he must have not have told him who he was the first time when he went back to his house. He must have went back to his house and thought about if he should tell him who he is or not. And then finally, he must have went back to his house to work up the courage to go back and tell him who he is, instead of just acting like a nosy neighbor. Oh yeah, he lives right next door. He lives right next door, to old Daddy, right? Probably his family owned the land, and Daddy gave him so much, of the land. Like Daddy probably had all the land and then split it and let his son have, the land next door to it.
Not a joke. Yeah, pretty much they were wasting their time.
But he said it's a joke. It's a joke, and I understand. Because his generation. Actually, to be honest with you, I can't say his generation, because it's not just his generation, I guess, that disrespects children. Because damn, what's Don Wells? Ain't Don Wells like way up there? I mean, he's an older man. I think his generation is out of the 50s, maybe out of the 50s, 60. He's out of the 50s or 60s. And the 50s and 60s, those people in the 50s and 60s seem to, especially in the 50s, it was like leave it to Beaver kind of situation, where everybody respected everybody. They respected the older folks, they respected the kids, they respected their mom and dads. in the 60s, you know, a lot of kids got out, a lot of teenagers got out of control, but you know, they wasn't disrespecting their parents and their family, other than, you know, doing a lot of stuff their parents and family didn't want them doing. But what I'm saying is, you know, they didn't seem to, you know, be picking on children. Picking on children is what I'm saying. Don Wells, though, he's, you know, children have been his target, has been his target, you know, from day one, right? And he's like super old. So I guess, you know, I guess there was a few back then. I guess there was a few back then that, you know, didn't have no respect for children as well, because he sure in the hell didn't. I mean, look what he did to his stepsisters. Look what he did to their cousins. Look what he did to their friends. Don Wells has left a trail of tears, right? He's left a trail of tears over the course of his life, in the eyes of many, many, you know, many children and teenagers, and they've lived with those, you know, with those tears all these years, like, you know, Mary's sister did, and the cousin, and you know, and so on and so forth. And when the one was talking to Chris, she said, "You know what hurts the most, Chris?" And Chris is like, "You know, what?" And she said, "What hurts the most is he don't even remember me. He violated me. He hurt me. He did all of this evil stuff to me, and he didn't even remember me." Right? Because he didn't care. He didn't care who he hurt. He didn't. He saw everybody as objects instead of humans. Don Wells was very evil. He's a very evil human being. And to come from, you know, to come from that far back, you know, to come from that far back in history, it's kind of a shock. It's kind of a shock to, you know, to see, to be honest. I mean, he was a rarity. He was a rarity for the, you know, the era and time he was born in. That's what I'm saying. Because during that time, that kind of stuff wasn't tolerated. It wasn't, you know, acceptable, and it wasn't tolerated during that particular, you know, time of history. That's when people still had, you know, morals and you know, and respect and kindness, some caring, some love, and Don Wells and his dad and those people were, you know, a real rarity, to say the least. But anyway, this guy said what he said, and that's what he meant. You know, he thought it was a joke, because, you know, he has no respect for Summer's case. The reason he wanted to come out and he wanted to, you know, talk and everything was because he felt violated. He felt violated by law enforcement. He felt that, you know, law enforcement came in there and, you know, and basically did what they wanted to do, right? And there's nothing he could do about it. Nothing his dad could do, nothing he could do about it. And, you know, and it kind of, it shook him. it shook them. Right? People like this feel that they're unstoppable, untouchable, and they just found out that no, you're not. No, you're not. You know, the long arm of the law can reach you too. And that's what he's upset about. He wanted to come out because he's upset with law enforcement. Where Summer's concerned, he doesn't care at all. He as much as said that when he said, it's a joke.
What was going on?
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was kind of a joke. I mean,
I thought the whole thing was kind of a joke.
a waste of time, not a joke.
Oh, it was a waste of time. Looking for a 5-year-old missing child and what possibly happened to her is a waste of time. Wow, really? Okay.
And pretty much they were wasting their time.
Yeah.
So I figured that
Was they? Was they wasting their time? I don't think so. I don't think so.
I'd really get into the middle of it and figure out what was really going on. So I suggested that they might want to know where the remains are buried. And that got a lot of attention. And I followed up with when he slaughters, any livestock, he takes it to to my property, which is next door. I have 7.5 acres, and he buries it there because I have a big compost pile. They wanted to ask if they could search it, look at it, whatever, and I told them, have at it. Like, get it over with.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
I thought the whole thing was kind of a joke. I mean, a waste of time, not a joke. And pretty much they were wasting their time.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd really get into the middle of it and figure out what was really going on. So I suggested that.
Now listen to his words, you guys, because you really want to listen to these words.
They might want to know where the remains are buried.
They might want to know where her remains are buried. Did you hear that? They might want to know where her remains are buried. Listen to this.
Figure out what was really going on. So I suggested that they might want to know where the remains are buried.
Where her remains are buried. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard that. Did you hear that? He suggested that maybe they'd want to know where her remains are buried. Honey, that was like a matter of a fact, right? That was like a matter of a fact. For sure. For sure. Right? A matter of a fact. Right there. Now let's go on, because I'm going to point something out to you, and that's why I came in here. I came in here because this is what we do. This is what we do. We catch the slips, right? We catch the slips. Now listen what he has to say after this.
And that got a lot of attention, and I followed up with when he slaughters, any livestock, he takes it to to my property, which is next door. I have 7.5 acres, and he buries it there.
And he buries it there. He buries it there. Now listen to this.
I have a big compost pile. They wanted to ask if they could search it, look at it, whatever, and I told them, have at it. Like, get it over with, get it done. I don't want to deal with.
He says, that's where, that's where the pig graveyard is, right? The pig graveyard. That's where they bury them. That's where they bury it. It's a pig graveyard, right? But listen to where the slip came in, you guys. I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to show you where his slip came in. And this, I hope law enforcement was listening to this, and I hope law enforcement caught that slip, and I hope they go back out there and check the damn neighbor's yard, because that's, that was his slip right here. Take a listen.
Figure out what was really going on. So I suggested that they might want to know where the remains are buried, and that got a lot of attention. And I followed up with, when he slaughters, any livestock, he takes it to my
You hear him slip? He said he takes it to my neighbors. He takes it to my neighbors. So it's not just on his land. It's also on the neighbor. He takes it to my neighbors also. So they need to look on the neighbor's land as well. Listen to this. See, he knew he fucked up and he slipped up, right?
Any livestock, he takes it to my neighbor.
See, he takes it to my neighbor. To my neighbor. So who's the other neighbor? Yeah, there you go. There you go. A slip of the lip. A slip of the lip. They wasn't talking about they wasn't telling law enforcement about the neighbors where they were burying stuff as well. They just was talking about, his property and daddy's property. But there's more. There's more. There's a neighbor's, right? Absolutely. And that's what I wanted to come out and talk about for tonight. I wanted to let you guys know that law enforcement's job ain't done up there. Law enforcement needs to go out there and they need to find the neighbor, and they need to check, the neighbor's little pig graveyard as well, right? Where do you bury your pigs? Or actually Frank's pigs, right? Frank uses your place too, because your son slipped up and said so. So we're going to have to check your place as well, right? Absolutely. Oh, yeah. He led him in the right direction. Only he led him to his pigs. But I have another thought upon all of this as well. I have another thought upon, his bullshit as well. You're not going to lead. You're not going to lead. Nobody's going to lead Ali to where they put somebody, right? Because the reason that you're going to conceal all of this is to keep your ass from going to prison to begin with, right? Nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody wants to be put in jail because a couple parents up there on Ben Hill Road decided to do and allow evil to be done to their children. Nobody wants to end up going down for decisions that these parents, these worthless parents up there made when it came to, to their personal family. Nobody's wanting to go down for this, even if they was up there, right? Even if they was up there helping to, pluck the evil seeds out of the ground. They don't want to go down for it. What I'm saying is, you don't see you don't see all the buyers show up, you know, when the seller gets caught, right? When they come in and they get the seller and they pull the seller out and they take the seller to prison for illegal, stuff that they're not supposed to be handing out or selling. You don't see all these people showing up saying, hey, you forgot us, right? Hell no. They scatter. They scatter like roaches, right? They all scatter like roaches. Turn the light on, they all scatter. That's what happens. Now, this guy isn't, they ain't going to try to hide something just to lead law enforcement to where it is. But see, since there's two places, not just his place, but a neighbor's place where, where all this hog, these pig stuff's going, he's going to lead them to his, but he didn't lead them to the neighbors. And I bet you he didn't even tell law enforcement about the neighbors, where there's more stuff at. Right? But I think he wanted everybody to know he knows. Did you hear him say that it really got attention? And that's what he's seeking. Attention. Well, he just got some. And like, like the rest of them, I'm going to tell you something I heard very young. Your own tongue is your worst enemy. Right? Your own tongue is your worst enemy. Most of the time, it's your own tongue that works its way across your throat. Right? There you go. And I'm going to tell you, the less you say, the better off you are when it comes to situations like this. The problem is these people are not very intelligent. These are not highly educated human beings. You're messing with a whole lot of under or uneducated human beings. I'm not talking about, oh, you can't read and write. I'm talking about you're just a dumbass when it comes to common everyday sense, right? It has nothing to do with higher education in brick and mortar schools, right? Or any type of schooling. It's called everyday common damn sense that most people, like the old folks had, right? The real old folks had it. They knew, the less they talked, the better off they were. They knew how to plead the fifth and keep their tongue in their mouth and their mouth shut, the lips closed, right? So the tongue didn't wiggle. Yeah. But these people, they don't. See, Don and Candace didn't know how to keep their mouth shut. And they pretty much told us everything. And this guy, the same way. These people want attention. They want attention. And I'm going to tell you what, and Ellie's pulling them out. Ellie's pulling them out of the darkness, right? Ellie's out there pulling them into the light. We got to thank God for that. Now, why they're pulling them to the light, I don't know. They might have special reasons. But even there's, evil can pull evil to the light. Right? God uses evil, It's like that story that's been going around. The neighbor, there's this neighbor, he sees his other neighbor praying, right? See this lady praying every day. She's praying. And, she's praying to God because she needed food, right? She say, Lord, I don't got enough food, to really feed me and the family, and I sure wish you could provide some food. And he hear her praying all the time. He'd hear her praying. So he decided to pull a trick on her. And he went and, called up the grocery store and had a bunch of groceries delivered on her porch. And she come running out thanking God, right? Thank you, Lord. And he went over and, he told her, I get a good one on you. And she said, what's that? He said, that wasn't God to put them groceries on your porch. It was me. And she told him, said, yeah, well, God uses bad people like you to help good people like me. And she took the groceries in and shut the door. There you go. It was still God. And what I'm saying is, if, the law enforcement down Tennessee, I have my thoughts on them. And and evil can pull out evil. I'm not thinking that these are good people here. I'm thinking they're probably just as bad. But it works like that. And I think they were sent to pull some stuff to the light. And I absolutely believe they did. And this guy wiggled his tongue because he felt like, law enforcement got the best of him and Daddy, and he wanted to come out and, I guess kind of reconcile that, right? And it didn't work out too good for him. It didn't, and did you notice that Ryan did not, like when he said, that I told him, that she, they wanted to know where she was she was at, where the remains were. Did you notice that Ryan didn't ask him why did he say that? What led him, what led him to do that? What knowledge did he have to, to pull him in that direction where Summer's case was concerned? Put a 1 in the chat if you took note. Ryan wasn't, doing anything to further get information that could have been used to help Summer. I mean, I noticed that, it seemed to be a cut and dry kind of planned out, interview. Kind of like they had talked beforehand and it was going to be kind of a cut and dry. um, interview. That's, that's the opinion. That's the opinion I got from what I was, what I was viewing, what I was seeing and hearing from observation. That's, that's my opinion upon it. Right. Exactly. Exactly, Stephanie. Absolutely. Yeah. And I listened to that interview. I say I listened to that interview. I can't even tell you how many times. I listened to it over and over and over. I wanted to make sure that my ears was actually hearing what I thought I was hearing. I'm not the type that listens to something once. I mean, the first time I hear it, I do draw my conclusions. I do, it's like, but I listen again and again to make sure that I'm hearing what I heard the first time, right? Because that's important to me. That's very important to me. I don't like to get things wrong. I like to, I like to make sure 100% when I'm dealing with, when you're dealing with other people's lives out here, you don't want to get it wrong. You want to get it right. Right? I don't believe in, putting anything on someone that they don't, that ain't deserving, is what I'm trying to say. And I'd be the first one to apologize if I'm wrong. Usually I'm not. Sometimes I am. Usually I'm not. I can't answer that, Coupon Mama. I don't know. Because when I talk to someone, when I talk to people, I bring it out immediately. I bring it to the table immediately, unless law enforcement tells you, law enforcement tells you it's better not to. Sometimes, that information you turn in, they don't want you broadcasting, and so forth and so on. But he slipped up. And I think that, all of you have a right to know that. Every last one of you have a right to know that this guy slipped up, and that the neighbor's yard, that the other neighbor's yard needs to be checked. It wasn't checked. He had a slip of the lip. So Daddy wasn't sticking everything just in his yard. I mean, he ain't the only one that's got, the 3 little piggies, resting in his yard. Somebody else has got 1 or 2 of those piggies resting in their yard. And they need to check all the yards, because finding Summer is important. Finding Summer is very important. Now, here's the other thing that I thought about. Now, this is something that just, I had to give it a thought. He takes Ali out there and says, he takes Ali out to the piggy graveyard, right? Could he have just been telling them that Summer isn't where she is? She isn't alone. that she ain't by herself? Could it have been a joke? Could it have been one of their games? She's with the piggies. Could that have been, you'll have to dig for, you come out here and dig in this, piggy cemetery. Could he have been, a big joke because, she's actually up there at Morrison Cemetery, buried underneath someone else's grave where she's not alone? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand? She's in a cemetery, all right. Not this one. Not with the pigs, but she's in a cemetery, and she's not alone. She's underneath somebody else's grave. Right? Her remains is not, she's in a cemetery. He took them to a pig cemetery next door. Well, right up the road, Morrison Cemetery. Right up the road there is, and she would be underneath another person, right? She wouldn't be alone. It could have been, like inside joke, right? They're partners in crime. They're all partners in crime. Inside joke. Ha 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 ha. Right? Well, it's not funny. Because we're talking about a 5-year-old innocent child. Right? It's better to hang a millstone around your neck and walk into the sea than to hurt or do something to a child. Ain't gonna be funny when they meet their maker, right? Ain't gonna be funny when they're standing in front of the Lord himself and God Almighty looking at them. And God has them in his derision. It's not going to be funny. That's going to be a very sad day. And I bet you 10-1 that the smile goes off their face. Now, I don't know if it'll go off their face before they drop into hell or after. But I'm sure it's not going to be funny anymore. Just saying. But that's a thought that I had to, bring out and share with you as well. Because I know that Van Hill Road got seized up and checked right at the time we were really pressuring for Morrison Cemetery to be looked into. Right at the time, law enforcement's receiving tons of calls for that gravesite to be looked at. All of a sudden, a deterrence happens in the Summer Wells case. And it flies down the street to Van Hill Road, right? Perfect timing to get the focus off of Morrison Cemetery. And I just find it weird that this guy leads them to a pig cemetery, right? where pigs are buried, as if she's not buried alone, right? So you have to, you have to try to, get inside of these people's minds, the mind of a fucking evil criminal, and try to see it from their point of view. But I think, I think that the neighbor's yard still needs to be looked into. And I think Morrison Cemetery still needs to be looked into. I mean, Morrison Cemetery came right out of a number one suspect's mouth, Andy Bernard. And it came out of another number one suspect's mouth before it came out of Andy's, which was Jody Sue's, in a Discord, right? And you have Dawn Wells saying she's just down the road in a beautiful place. And we can't forget that the last time Don and Candace Wells was celebrating Summer, right? Memorializing her. Remember, they was memorializing her? The last time they did it before June the 15th. Actually, they did it about the time they would have been, contemplating against her, right? Well, they was cutting all of her hair off and doing all the stuff leading up to June the 15th. That's actually about the time that they went and they memorialized her. And if you remember, that when Don opened the camera up, memorializing Summer with the swing set and the dollar store lights around it, Don B went to the swimming hole, and right there's flowers, right? We went to the cemetery where after Andy ran his mouth, somebody tried to hide this grave. Right? My friend almost did not find this grave. This grave was covered up and a streak of luck, it was found. And there was 2 flowers on it. 2 flowers on it from the dollar store, flowers at the swimming hole, and lights around the swing. So, flowers was at the place that we believe Summer, where, on June 15th, we believe she met her demise, right? Flowers was at the place we believe she was put after. When they got back to the house, went down to Freddie's and met up with Chad Arnold, we believe, because Chad's one of the grave diggers. And this was an open grave at the time. So we believe she was put here and there's flowers. And she loved her swing. And that's where they put the lights, right? It makes perfect sense. This is where she became unlived. This is where she's resting at. And the swing is the one place she always liked to be. It makes perfect sense. When he led them to a pig cemetery, was he telling them, I know she's in the cemetery down the road because they use our heavy equipment to dig those graves. Was it all an inside joke? I don't know. I don't know. Just saying. Anything's possible with these evil people. Anything's possible with them. It makes perfect sense to me why Candace was recording at the swimming hole. She was recording because she wanted to keep Hunter's mouth shut. She was recording because she had, she wanted video of him going into that water. She shut it off as he went into the water. She wanted to remind him that if he ever runs his mouth, she has video to show who went into that water, and it wasn't her. It wasn't her that went into the water. It was him. So he might not want, to tell what happened there. Try to turn the table. He doesn't want to turn the table and try to act like she did it, like Candace did it or something. He wants to tell on her because no, Hunter, I'm not the one going into the water. You are. I wasn't wet. You was. Right? That's why she took that video, to prove he was there, and he was the one walking in the water towards Summer before she ended up on the milk jugs. I'm going to tell you, these people ain't stupid. They're not stupid. They are very, they're very smart when it comes to criminal minds. They've had a lot of fucking practice, especially Dom Wells, right? He's been a criminal his whole life. And I got a feeling that Candace has been pretty damn good at it too. Just saying. These are street people. These are people that spent more time on the streets than they ever spent inside of a house living normal lives. Right? They lived rough. But I wanted to come in. I wanted to share that with everybody. And tomorrow night, we're going to talk about something more. Where this particular guy is concerned.
My
right?
property, which is
right there. Not a bad looking guy. I'm going to tell you. Trust me. This guy don't want to go to jail for sure. He does not want to go to jail. He's too damn good looking. Right? He's too damn good looking. I mean, Dom Wells might be safe in jail, right? Fred Hill might be safe in jail. They might be safe. I mean, people out here don't want them. Right? Unless there's a Ziggy in jail, like a man Ziggy in there with Ziggy's eyeballs, they're not going to want Fred. Unless there's a man in there looking like Candace, which there might be. There might be one looking like Candace. She looks like one herself. There could be one in there looking like Candace. Maybe Dom might not be safe. There might be a few of them looking like Candace in there. I don't know. I don't know. You know, I have no idea. He better hope they ate. But, you know, point being is this guy right here, whoa, you know, he gonna have some problems. He goes into jail, he definitely would have problems. No doubt in my mind. He's probably got a lot of problems out here, right? He's probably got a lot of problems out here. He's a good looking guy. I mean, you know, my car might put on its own brakes for him. That's all I'm saying. So, you know, the rest of them I think is pretty safe. My car wouldn't hit the brakes for Don or you know, or Fred. Definitely not. It would be the other that I would be afraid. You know, it would hit the floor. Right? I'd be it'd be the gas pedal, not the brake. That's for damn sure. Yeah, there's a lot of suspects, in this Italian cookie. Absolutely, a lot of suspects, and you know, I had somebody writing me today. I was talking to somebody, you know, was talking about, you know, how they was praying, you know, they didn't know if Summer's case be solved, you know, soon or not soon, and I don't know why, but you know, I felt a real strong presence that the Lord is going to solve this case. You know, I wanted to say one thing, but you know, I was going to say one thing, but I was just, you know, just really led to say the Lord's going to solve that case. And I believe he is. I believe he is, you know, when I think we all know. I mean, God, you know, the Bible tells us that, you know we know the Lord's voice when we hear it. We know when we're being led. If you're a child of God, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain this to you, but you know. And I just feel so strongly. I feel so strongly more now than ever that this baby's case is going to get solved. And I believe that. I believe Summer's case will be solved. So, you know, we're just going to have to, you know, patience is a virtue, right? And God loves people who have patience. And PG, you know, I mean, I don't know, but I think I believe I've got, you know, I think I've got the patience of a saint. I'm pretty sure I do. So, you know, I'm just going to stick with God, and I'm going to, you know, keep the prayers going up, and I want to let God do what God does best, you know, solve things on his own time. Summer does deserve to be found. She does deserve to be laid to rest in her own place where her brothers, you know, her brothers will know where she's at and they can rest as well. They can find, you know, some peace in all of this. And I think we all deserve, to find some rest in all of this as well. You know, we love that little girl. We love her. Just like her brothers. And that type of wickedness, somebody wicked enough to hurt a 5-year-old innocent little girl that did not deserve to be done like this. They deserve to go to prison. They deserve to pay the price for what they've done. Right? They deserve that. Summer deserves justice. And I'm going to tell you what, every other child on the face of this earth deserve to be safe. And I'm afraid that if you got that kind of evilness, if you got evilness that can destroy one child the way Summer was destroyed, it wouldn't have a problem destroying other children. It would have no problem destroying anybody. If it's that wicked, it would have no problem destroying other humans. And other humans do not deserve to be destroyed. No one deserves to be destroyed by wickedness. That wickedness deserves to be put away where they cannot destroy anyone ever again. And I pray to God that whoever did this ends up in prison. I pray to God Summer is found. I pray to God that she does get the justice she deserves against these evil beings. And I pray she gets it on earth. I pray she gets it on earth because it's the only thing that's going to let her brothers live a normal life. Her brothers need to know they had nothing to do with what happened to their sister. They need to understand where she's at, know that she's okay in the hands of God Almighty and His Son, Jesus Christ. And they need to be able to move forward along with all of us and let Summer and let her truly rest in her own resting place. That's what I think. And I'm going to be honest. I don't think there's one person responsible for what happened to Summer. I think it's multiple people. And I think that's why they're all playing their games and hoping she's not found. Because I think there's a lot of people going to go to prison. I think it's it's going to be a multitude. This is a very large group of evilness. And I truly believe if Summer's case is solved, there's going to be many people. It's going to be the domino effect. It's going to be a chain of people, that go down with it. Not just Don, Candace, and Grandis. I think that, I think the first arrest will be Candace and Grandis and Don Wells. I think Donald's going to be picked up right after Candace and Grandis because they're going to tell on him. And then I think other people are going to start going down. I think like Andy Bernard, Fred Hill, Laura, Chad Arnolds, Marlena Crawford. I think they've all had a hand in it. And I think that, and probably a lot of other people, maybe, not directly for, for Summer being unalived. I think that's going to be Candace, Grandis, and Hunter. But I think other people are going to go down for their involvement, their involvement in it as well, helping to cover it up, participating in what was going on up there on the hill. It's just going to be really ugly. And there's going to be a lot of people in trouble. And that's, and that's why I think so many people are playing so many games is to try to keep this case, try to keep it so jumbled up that, that it's really hard to solve. That's what they want. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of worried that, even if law enforcement knows where Summer's at, even if they know, they might not uncover it. Even if they're for sure, I think, I got this feeling if they knew, if they knew where she was, that's the one place they won't check. That's the one place they'll avoid so the case don't get solved. And that worries me too. Because if that's the truth, this is just my opinion, but if that's the truth, then that means that people in that field, some people in that field don't want it solved. And if people in that field don't want it solved, then you got to ask yourself why, right? You got to ask yourself why. And I think we all know the answer to that anyway. And that would just be horrible. That would be horrible, right? Absolutely. But it is what it is. Hey, Australia, appreciate Super Sticker. All right, girl, I appreciate that. God bless. God bless. I appreciate you supporting Summer's channel tonight. That was a back-to-back tonight for you. I appreciate that. But keep the prayers going up, you guys. Keep them going up for Summer Moon, Utah Wells. Keep those prayers going up. I know God's going to answer. Hey, Molly, good to see you in here. God bless. Much love. But I know God is listening. Through his son, he hears our prayers. So if you don't do anything else tonight, put your hands together, bow your head, and pray for this little girl. Pray that wherever she is, God lets her be found. He lets her be brought home, justice served, and he lets her brothers get the peace that they're seeking in all of this to move forward in their lives. Let us get the peace we're seeking, but most of all, let little Summer get the peace that she's seeking. Because I know wherever she is, she wants to be where everyone knows where she's at. And right now, nobody does. But she wants us to know. And therefore, I sure pray that she's found so that she can rest in peace as well. Amen. Keep them prayers going up, you guys. Keep them going up for Jack and Lily, Emmanuel, Michael, Sebastian. Keep them going up for Nancy. She ain't been found yet either. So many. and Genesis. Keep them going up for Genesis, because she needs to be found too. She needs to be found as well. You know, they found a mattress and some stuff out in the woods that her mother took out there and burned, right? They believe that she'd been missing. They believe she had been missing for a month before it was reported. Terrible case. Beautiful little girl, just like Summer. She's 2 years old. Beautiful as she could be. And it looks like she's been destroyed too. God be with us. God be with us. And God be with our children. Amen. Hey, our bucket list has holes. I appreciate that, PG. Thank you. Please use this for what you needed. Oh, I so appreciate that. God bless. Much love. Absolutely. I so appreciate that. We are always going to be facing these adversities. Yes, we are. And missing children. But I'm still stuck on Summer. Amen. Amen. Summer is beautiful. She's beautiful. I'm going to tell you, one of the first pictures I seen of Summer was the one where she was standing outside and the light was just streaming down on her from heaven. It was just streaming down upon her in the yard. And I'm going to tell you, I thought to myself, that child is so blessed. She's so blessed. I just knew God loved her. And I could tell that child was just full of light, full of love, full of everything that, that family didn't have, right? And I knew she loved the outdoors. I knew she loved the outdoors because no house could contain the light and the energy and everything that child possessed. And she just wanted to be free. She just wanted to feel free. And that's outside's the only place she could do it. There was so much abuse and ugliness in that house that outside was the only place that Summer could feel free and away from all of that. God bless her. God bless her. Keep those prayers going up, you guys. Keep them going up for one another as well. May God keep you and always be with us in the name of Jesus. Amen. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love.